Welcome back to another episode of Stories from the Shed. My name is Adam, and with me again this week, a man who's been kicking himself in the ass for deleting all of our unreleased content. Jake, how's it going?
I'm kicking myself in the ass. My ass hurts. It hurts. I've kicked myself like 25 times already in the last 2 days. Try to do something nice, update my MacBook so mine is at least up to speed with yours, and nope. Fuck that. It doesn't want nothing.
So I guess we're going to be doing Edmund Kemper 2.0 today.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll be doing this one and another one in a little bit. But re-records are good things, I guess.
Outside,
maybe we'll get the story better.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a good chance on that. A good chance on that. Now, outside of all that, how was your week?
It's been busy.
Been busy?
Busy.
Yeah.
Busy. I can see my breath when I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm speaking into the microphone and it's bouncing off the little pop filter thing. And it looks like you're smoking a cigarette, but you're not actually smoking a cigarette.
We'll just take a moment to just tell everybody right now that it is 0 degrees outside.
Is it 0?
It is. So that puts the shed at...
It's not even a single degree. Fahrenheit, of course.
No, I just checked the phone. It's 0 degrees.
It is cold.
Here in cold Maine. And that would put the shed... we should get a... something to, tell us the temperature in here.
Yeah, I agree.
At all times, because it is, and the shed is not much warmer than that. So
yeah,
agreed. We're gonna do this episode here,
a
and
little propane heater only does so much.
Yeah,
but it is warm if you're close to it. I don't know if you can feel it.
I can feel it. I mean, I'm cold, but
yep. Put the equipment right in front of it. Hopefully, it doesn't melt.
Yeah, right. So, Jake, tonight we're drinking Switchback Ale. Now, this is by Switchback Brewing in Vermont. What do you think of this one?
It tastes like the Redemption Center floor. It still hasn't changed from the last time we recorded it.
No, I can still taste that Redemption Center floor.
What does it taste like?
You know what it tastes like? A flat beer.
Yeah, kind of.
Like a kind of a stale beer. Almost like if you were to open up a good beer and drink half of it and then put the can in the fridge and then attempt to drink it the following day.
I've never done that, but now I kind of want to try that just to verify your claim.
Guilty as charged. So we're gonna
give
we're gonna give Switchback Ale 2.5 Scully fingers.
I'm cool with that.
On the Scully finger scale.
Yep, that's fine.
Nasty. I'll tell you what, Switchback Ale.
But it's not a natty daddy either.
No.
So,
Switchback Ale will have you switching back to another beer real quick.
For real. Go back to the store.
That's right. So, Jake, what is our topic tonight?
You already told us.
What's
our topic tonight?
Edmund Kemper the second. I have brain freeze in here right now. So, actually, he's not the second. He was born Edmund Emil Kemper the third. My mistake.
Third.
Yes, he was born on December 18th in 1948 in Burbank, California.
Oh, I'm jealous.
It's a warmer place than here.
Yeah, but mudslides and earthquakes and crazy shit.
Now, his events that he had been in had earned him a few nicknames, such as the Co-Ed Killer and the Co-Ed Butcher. He was known as the Ogre of Aptos also, which is kind of...
Well, what are these events?
Well, we'll get into that, but this was kind of fitting because this guy is kind of unique. He's very tall. He's 6'9", and he is a convicted serial killer.
Oh, okay. Yes. That explains the names.
Yes, and he committed his crimes during a span between 1964 and 1973.
It's a long-ass time.
Well, he was busy.
I would say so. Kept him busy for 9 years of his life.
Yeah. Now, Edmund Kemper, let's see here. He was born to a mother and father.
Oh, wow. How traditional of him.
And their names were... of course, Edmund Kemper and Clawnell. Now, Ed was very smart. He had an IQ of 145, they say.
Yeah, and then he was tested a little bit below that, too, I think, at one point. But he's, nonetheless, very, very, very intelligent. He's much smarter than I am.
Very smart man. Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about Ed's early life?
Well, his family didn't really treat him all that great. His parents were kind of cold toward him. He had some really weird games and stuff he liked to play when he was a kid. He used to hang out with his younger sister because his older sister, he's got 2 sisters, I believe, right? Just 2?
Yes.
The younger and the older. Okay, correct. He used to hang out with his younger sister because the older sister used to pick on him. Just as an example, one time he had told his older sister that he had a crush on his teacher. And she goes, why don't you go tell her? If not, you're gay or whatever it was. It was this typical stuff you'd see from a brother-sister relationship. It didn't seem like all that much, but basically they didn't get along. So he'd play with his younger sister. He had weird games that they would play, like they would play gas chamber and electric chair. He had a basement bedroom when he was growing up, and he would have his sister hit an imaginary switch after she would wrap him in like a towel or a rug or something that he couldn't get out of, and she would flick this switch, and he would like fall on the floor and like have basically a seizure on the floor. He was very, very odd.
Ed was kind of odd at birth. I mean, he weighed 13 pounds as a newborn.
I weighed 10 pounds. Holy crap, dude.
Kemper was already a head taller than his peers by the age of 4. He was highly intelligent but exhibited behaviors such as cruelty to animals. At the age of 10, he had buried one of their pet cats alive.
Mm-hmm.
And once he was certain that the cat was dead, he had dug it up and severed its head and put it on a stick.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like staked it in the yard. Later in life, he expressed that he had derived pleasure from, pulling this over on his parents.
Jesus. Okay.
And then again, at the age of 13,
whatever you say,
he does it again. At the age of 13, he kills another family cat who's perceived that his younger sister liked more.
Okay, well, you think the family would learn not to get another fucking cat?
He kept the pieces of the cat in his closet until his mother found them.
I feel bad for the cat, but I don't feel bad for them because like they should have known not to get another cat.
You mentioned surprise bomb.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, remember
I'm gonna
the
kill
first
your
one.
second cat.
Well, remember the first one? He tricked him. He pulled it. He pulled it. He said, remember, like I said, he derived pleasure from.
Yeah, but what did he have? Well, I thought you meant he tricked the cat somehow.
No, he tricked his parents.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, he says that later on in life when he's talking about this, said he derived pleasure from pulling the wool over them.
Yeah,
making them think something else had happened.
Oh, yeah, okay. And then you had a joke about a lucky cat paw keychain thing. Yeah, right.
Now, Kemper had a close relationship with his father, so when his parents separated in 1957, he was devastated. This caused him to be raised by his mother, Clarnell, but this was in
Clarnell,
but they
her name is actually Clarnell, Clarnell.
But we say Clarnell in the shed.
In the 0 degree shed. If it was like the 75 degree shed, I think it would still be Clarnell.
Clarnell. Well, they moved to Helena, Montana, where this is where he started to notice his mother and him having a dysfunctional relationship as he reflects back in time. Mm-hmm. She was neurotic, domineering, and she was an alcoholic, and she would frequently belittle him and humiliate him and abuse him in different ways. She often would lock him in the basement, like you were saying.
Yep.
And she'd make him sleep there. And it was almost like, and she would say that this was to protect the two sisters of his because she was concerned that Edmund was going to rape them.
Wow.
Yeah, or abuse them or do something to them. So that was her excuse for keeping Edmund in the basement. Now, for him...
Well, you can't really... I'm not going to say you can't blame her, but you can see where she would get that after he kills the cat. You know what I mean?
Well, you almost wonder that, because you're getting the story from Edmund. And in so many cases, when you research this, everybody's like, oh, his mother, Clarnell is a bitch and this and that, but you don't know the full story. You don't know what living with Edmund as a child, having a child like Edmund's like, because I mean, if he's doing shit like this to the cats and that's the stuff that's notable and mentioned,
right,
then what's the little shit that goes that went without notice?
Right.
So maybe she had some kind of reason to suspect that he could potentially do something to his sisters, but she kept him in the basement. And now as a young boy, when he was in there, he would think of it as the upstairs where the women were, like that was heaven, and he was down in the basements of hell. And, it was one of these old, 1950s basements, right? Mm-hmm. So he would go down the stairs and he would turn on the light, which was like kind of in the corner.
Yeah.
But it only would light the small section of that area. The rest of it was left dark.
And he would have to run to his section where he had his bedroom and turn on the light so he could see his bedroom. Then he'd have to run back and turn off the other light.
His mother would give him shit if he left the door open because it would leave the rest of the house cold. So it makes you wonder how cold was his bedroom.
Yeah, right.
Being down in the basement.
Yeah, right. Jesus.
He would see the flame in the furnace glowing as you lay in bed, and he would even say that he would hear rats crawling around on the walls.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. Gross.
So, and another thing about her is that she would constantly mock him for his large size. At the age of 15, he was 6'4" tall.
That's really tall. I'm not even 6'4".
She continued to call him a weirdo. I just constantly called him a weirdo.
Instead of being mean to him, she should have just took advantage of him and made him reach the things on the top shelf like my mom did to me. My mom was like 4'11", and she used to just tell me, hey, long arms, go grab that shit on the top shelf. I can't reach it.
She would say things to him like, you remind me of your father, and there's no way a woman will ever love you. This is what she's saying to her son.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, later in life, Edmund Kemper would describe his mother as being sick and being, kind of crazy.
Kind of a bitch.
But, dude, there's no, to kind of touch on what we were saying earlier as far as maybe she had a reason for keeping him in the basement and stuff. I mean, I could see trying to maybe separate them, but there's no need to tell your kid he's a weirdo and belittle him, and that's a little extreme. But who's to say that this is even true?
Right.
The other sisters, his sisters would say that they were treated great, and of course Edmund didn't argue that point either.
Who knows? We're not them, and she's not around any longer to ask. Mom.
Right. And we'll get to that crazy part in a little bit here.
Yeah, right. So Edmund finally has enough of it at about 15, and he ran away. He goes to Van Nuys, California to go meet up with his dad. Really wants to go live with him and try to figure his life out, blah, blah, blah. Once he got there, he figured out that his dad had remarried and had a stepson, though. He stayed with his father for a little bit, and then his dad sent him to live with his grandparents, who lived on a ranch in the mountains of North Fork. I'm assuming where is North Fork?
I don't know, but it sounds nice. Mountains of California.
Yeah, nothing about a mountain sounds nice right now. It's fucking cold.
I know.
I'm not a fan.
But you know what? The reason why Edmund's father sent him away was because he had remarried. He had walked out on Edmund before, and now he started a new life, and he had a stepson. And his wife said that having Edmund around gave her headaches, rather.
Huh.
Yeah. So once again, the father is pushing Edmund away. So far in Edmund's life, he's had nobody to turn to.
Right.
Now he finds once he's moved in with his grandparents that his grandmother was always emasculating the grandfather, and this kind of is a lot like Edmund's mother doing that to him and doing that to his father.
Right.
So I think we're starting to see a lot of the same thing. So Edmund really has no escape from this kind of stuff, and then that brings us, I guess, to the first murders, Jake.
Yeah, at 15 years old, Edmund killed his grandparents. On August 27th, 1964, his grandmother, we'll just call her Maud. Yeah, that's a big-ass name.
We'll go with Maud Kemper.
Yep. Was sitting at the kitchen table when she and Kemper had an argument. Kemper got mad and he stormed off and grabbed a rifle.
Which he got for Christmas.
Yep. His grandfather gave it to him to go hunting.
Yeah.
He returned to the kitchen and shot his grandmother in the head before firing twice more into her back. Suppose there are rumors that she was stabbed after the fact. I can't confirm that.
I've actually seen that too. Some places report that, some places don't, but I did see something like that too.
Right. So Ed kicked around, waited for his grandfather to come home. He was out at the grocery store. The grandfather steps out of the car, and Ed shot him.
Yeah, the grandfather waves to him.
Yeah.
Boom, shoots him with that 22.
Yeah.
I think he only shot him once, and that was it.
Was it? No, it was his rifle.
Yeah, it was a 22 rifle.
Oh.
Yeah, the grandfather got out and waved to him. He didn't wave a gun. I'm waving. They can't see me. This is an audio podcast, but
I just need to point out to the audience that I am not a gun guy at all. I have zero interest. I have nothing against them. You guys, I have no problem with them. I see why people want them. I get it, but they're not for me. You know what I mean?
Now, after Edmund shot his grandfather, he panics. He doesn't know what to do. So he goes back into the house, and of all people, he has nobody. Do you know who he calls?
His mom.
He calls his mother.
Oh, that was a good guess.
It's
almost like I've talked about this once or twice.
If she was that shitty of a mom, I mean, and again, I'm not like victim blaming or nothing, but again, he calls her for some reason, probably because he has nobody else to call, and she tells him that he should immediately call the police. Now, when the police show up, right, and they start to question him, and Kemper says he just wanted to see what it felt like to kill grandma, and that he killed his grandfather so that he would not have to find out that his wife was dead.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, a psychiatrist later in time wrote that his opinion was that he had done this just because of the rejection from his parents. Now, Kemper's crimes were deemed incomprehensible for a 15-year-old at that time, so he was brought...
Well, he did it. There's nothing incomprehensible about it when he did it.
I know. I agree with you. But, of course, they had to do something with him, and they sent him to the Atascadero Youth Authority psychiatric and social working programs.
No shit.
Which is like a prison for kids, I guess. It's like a mental mental health prison.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, supposedly, when he got there.
Yeah, but then soon thereafter, they saw that he was starting to have no delusions or hallucinations, and no evidence of no evidence of bizarre behavior. My lips are cold in here, man. And at that time, he tested for an IQ of 136.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Smart guy.
So then immediately, I mean, you can't be that smart and have all these problems, right? So they're thinking. Well, so they're thinking at the time, they re-diagnose him as having a some type of personality trait disturbance, passive-aggressive type disorder.
Huh.
And later at his time at Ascadero, Kemper tested at that time to have a higher IQ, the 145.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Now, while he was there, Kemper became friendly with the psychiatrist, being a model prisoner, not giving them a hard time or anything like that.
Right.
They allowed him to be trained to administer psychiatric tests to other inmates.
Oh, that's not smart.
Well, this is key because this is going to come up a little bit later as we go. But one of his psychiatrists later said that he was a very good worker and that this was not typical of a sociopath.
Huh.
Yeah, he took a lot of pride in his work, and he excelled in all kinds of other programs. Even during his stay in there, while he was there, he had joined the JCs, and also while he was there, he helped them develop new tests and such.
Right. So it seems like he's turning his life around in juvenile prison.
That's right. Now this would take us. A key thing is that while he was there administering tests to these other people that are there, a lot of them were rapists and stuff like that, and they would give him advice. Basically, he says he kind of almost took it as advice, where they would say, like, if you're gonna rape somebody, don't leave any victims and stuff like that, kind of planting that seed. Well, no, this is something that I think influenced him later in some of the decision making that he made later on in the story.
It's just horrible to hear.
Now, this is going to lead us to his release, Jake. Do you have anything on that?
Yeah, he was released in 1969, December 18th, about a week before Christmas. He was
Welcome
released
home.
Yeah, right? Welcome home. Kemper was released on parole. He was released into the care of his mom.
Yeah.
And that was against the recommendations of psychiatrists at the hospital. He moved to Aptos, California, and worked. No, I'm sorry, he didn't work. He went to community college at the college that his mom worked at, the University of California, Santa Cruz.
Yes, that's correct.
That's probably not a community college like I said it was. Might be. Sorry, guys.
And while he was doing all this, he was also continuing to see, psychiatrists as part of his parole, and he continued to show that he was excelling. He was quickly being rehabilitated in their opinion.
Right.
Yeah, so much so that on November 29th of 1972, his juvenile records were permanently expunged. Expunged, which means that they're covered up. They're gone. Expunged.
Yes.
I know.
You get it.
I get
it. You get it. It's kind of the same thing. You're plunging the toilet. You're plunging his record clean.
They plunged the shit out of his records. They were gone for the most part.
Okay. So with a now clean record, he has all kinds of room to do whatever he wants. And now that he's been trained by criminal psychologists and people in the court and in jail and stuff, kind of opens up some doors for him. So you know what he decides to do, Adam? Decides to go be a fucking police officer.
Kind of seems like if you're going to have a life of crime with the education that he got from the other people, you might as well be
on the inside.
Right. Well, there you go. That's what I kind of was thinking too. So what happens with that?
So he was rejected, unfortunately. Probably safer for well, maybe not. I guess I don't know. He still ended up killing people.
Yeah.
But he was rejected because he was way too fucking tall.
Yeah.
Again, he's 6'9", and apparently you can't be 6'9" and be a cop in Santa Cruz. But
height limit of 6'3", I read.
Why would you have a height limit on cops?
They did at the time. They probably don't now. But
okay, that's just kind of strange that they would do that. Anyway, even though he didn't get accepted, he still maintained a good relationship with the police department, and they kind of described him as a friendly nuisance.
Yeah.
He used to hang out at the bar all the time, and he would go, the cops would hang out there too sometimes, and sometimes he'd get a little bit rowdy, and it was what it was, but he was never a real big problem.
This bar was known as the jury room, and at the bar they called him Big Ed. Yeah. So, but that's true. Yeah. So he was just kind of one of those guys, but he eventually did find employment with the state of California Highway Department.
What was he doing over there?
So I think what he was doing was just regular highway work.
Okay.
During this
Building
time.
roads and taking tolls and
Yeah, that kind of stuff like you see along the 95 here. But during this time, his relationship with his mother remained toxic and hostile. So things continued down that path. They would argue frequently, and even the neighbors in the area surrounding houses, we overhear them a lot of times.
right.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I believe it.
as this would go on, things would become increasingly worse and over stupid things.
I believe it.
You know, it was never good enough for her. He was
And
never.
it's probably worse now that he's older too, because now every little thing he does annoys her more.
So as this is going on, you can imagine that Ed's thinking about taking off. So during this same year that he began the work at the highway department,
Yeah, he started saving some money, and he ended up moving out into a place with one of his buddies in Alameda, something.
yeah, well, there was an event also during that year where he was, I believe, on a motorcycle and he was hit by a car. And he got a $15,000 settlement, so that probably helped him with the moving out, and also with the purchase of a 1969 Ford Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably helped him to gain some of his independence away from his mother. You know, but at this time, once he had that vehicle, this is when he started heading down that slippery slope where he was starting to pick up and where he started noticing mentally, I guess, a large number of hitchhikers. I mean, this is around that hippie time, you know what I mean? So there was a lot of that, and that was okay to do. People did that, and they didn't think twice of it. So, and especially living in a college town, I'm sure there was hitchhikers everywhere.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there is. It's a college town.
Now, according to Kemper, he picked up approximately 150 of these hitchhikers.
Jesus.
And this was before he even felt like doing anything homicidal or sexual or any of this to any of these people.
Wow.
But you know what? He was like picking them up just to get to used to people, because you got to figure Edmund had nobody to talk to. Edmund was alone growing up, so he was socially awkward. And when you watch his interviews, he says that he uses this time to work on talking to people, to act normal. Have you, you know what I mean?
I remember hearing that in one of the interviews. He talked about that quite a bit. He seemed very, I don't know, not out of it, but like, he seemed like everything he did, he was out of his own body. It was like everything was an out of body experience for him.
And very well rehearsed.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Take a big swig of the ice cold beer? Water beer?
Water.
When you're
Water
ready,
now.
Tell us a little bit about his later murders.
He killed a bunch of people between May 1972 and April 1973 is when he started killing everyone. Basically, he killed how many people? 8?
8
and
total.
Is that including his grandparents?
No.
No?
So with the grandparents, it would
be 10?
Yeah.
Okay. The first 2 were Mary Ann Pence?
Pessy.
Okay. Wow, I sound horrible. And Anita Luchessa.
Yes.
He was driving in Berkeley, and he picked up these 2 18-year-old Fresno State students, and he was supposed to be taking them to Stanford University. They drove for an hour, and he managed to reach a secluded wooded area near Alameda, and he was very familiar with this area because he had worked at the highway department. Apparently, they had done some road work.
Again, very rehearsed.
Right. Without alerting his passengers, he actually changed directions and took them where he wanted to go. They had no idea because he was that familiar with the roads.
And this would be the first time that Ed starts to take, I guess, total control over people.
Right. He intended to rape them, but instead he handcuffed Pessy and locked Luchessa in the trunk, and then stabbed and strangled Pessy to death before killing Luchessa the same way. He later confessed that while handcuffing Pessy, he brushed the back of his hands against one of her breasts and embarrassed himself. He even said, "Whoops, I'm sorry," or something like that.
Isn't that weird?
I know, right? And the way I said it made it sound so cold. I'm sure he didn't say it like, "Whoops."
But just a few minutes later, he's killing her.
I know, right? What the hell?
Well, another person that I researched that we're going to be covering here was a guy that killed people, but he would leave the bodies right where they were because he didn't like touching corpses. So every serial killer's got their thing.
What? That doesn't fucking make sense.
Now, after he did this, he threw both their bodies in the Ford Galaxy trunk.
Yep.
This is a vehicle that must have a huge trunk.
I don't know. Pull one up. Your computer's available. I'll keep going with it. Pull one up.
No,
now I want to know.
we know it's a big trunk. If you can
I
throw
don't
two
know.
bodies in there, it's a
Dude,
big trunk.
I can fit 3 bodies in the back of my friggin' hatchback.
Well, there you go. So it's a big ass trunk. So with these bodies, he takes these bodies back to his apartment.
Okay.
And from there,
Do you know that's how I measure trunk space and bodies?
Yeah,
I know that's fucked up, but
2 bodies and a set of golf clubs.
yeah,
family
exactly.
vehicle.
Yeah, and the spare tire cover that covers the full size, not the donut, the full size.
Well, as he's taking off with his Ford Galaxy with a big ass trunk,
Right.
he's pulled over by a police officer for having a broken taillight. Now, what happens is he gets, he's smooth. He talks with the cops. He even says to the cop, "Should I open it up right now and see what I can do?"
Right.
And he says he's thinking to himself, if this cop makes me open this trunk, I'm gonna have to kill him too.
Right.
So he's got a 3-body trunk, Jake. We don't even need to look this shit up.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you almost wonder if he did it to get himself caught, or he did it just because he wanted to kill someone else.
Was he
like,
testing?
Why did he say? But why did he say that? What was I wonder what was going through his head at the moment.
Very
I wonder if
weird.
he was kicking himself in the ass after being like, "Oh, why the fuck did I do that? Why did I say that? You idiot!"
It's either that or he was testing himself.
Yeah.
What's going to happen here?
Yeah.
They're getting that rush out of this, like the rush he's getting from having the 2 bodies in his trunk,
Right.
He then takes these 2 bodies back to his apartment. Kemper's roommate's not home.
Okay.
Fortunately for his roommate.
Yeah, thankfully.
Where he took photographs and had sex with the corpses.
I am so glad you're not using the full word.
He had sex with the corpses.
Thank you.
and this was all before dismembering them. He put the body parts into plastic bags, which he later abandoned near Loma Prieta.
Loma Prieta Mountain.
Yes. Before disposing of Pesci and Lucchesa's severed heads in a ravine, Kemper engaged into head fucking.
He fought. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, Uramato. Sounds like a fucking pasta. Uramato. Yeah, that didn't happen. He head fucked. And in
Sorry. Go ahead.
In August, Pesci's skull was found at the base of the mountain. Though there was an extensive search that turned nothing was though there was an extensive search extension cord.
Oh, wow, I can't even talk.
No, they found nothing else.
It's this garbage beer.
That was it. Yeah, right.
It's this garbage beer. Speaking of garbage beer, can we take a break and I can switch to actual beer or water?
Good idea. Let's do that.
Sounds good.
I need to be able to really communicate, and ironically enough, that's why I began picking people up. And I'm picking up young women, and I'm going a little bit farther each time. It's a daring kind of a thing. At first, there wasn't a gun. I'm driving along. We go to a vulnerable place where there aren't people watching, where I could act out, and I say, no, I can't. And then a gun is in the car, hidden. And this craving, this awful, raging, eating feeling inside. I could feel it consuming my insides, this fantastic passion. It was overwhelming me. It was like drugs. It was like alcohol. A little isn't enough. At first it is. And as you adjust to that psychologically and physically, you take more and more and more. It's the same process.
And we're back. I didn't grab beer. I grabbed water.
Good choice, Jake.
Yeah, this is definitely better than that beer.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. All right, where do we leave off?
His next victim is Ikuku.
Ikuku or Akuku?
Akuku. You cuckoo, I cuckoo.
We all cuckoo.
We all cuckoo.
We all cuckoo. This girl at cuckoo, let him back in car.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that in a moment. But so what happens with her?
Yeah, so September 14th, 1972, Kemper picks up 15-year-old Korean dance student Akuku.
I believe we're saying that right.
Ikuku, something. I don't know. It's a weird name. I don't know, and I don't have the right inflection and whatever.
This is a episode of names that are very challenging for us, Jake.
Yeah, and I think it's just because we're white guys and we can't say names that aren't like John Smith.
We're just 2 white guys in a shed. But anyway, so what happens?
Ed picks her up. She decided she was going to hitchhike to a dance class after she missed her bus. He drove her to a remote area and pulled a gun on her. And then he accidentally locks himself out of his car. Number one, why are you pointing a gun at her outside of the car? If you're already in the car with her.
That's kind of weird, huh?
We didn't even think about that the last time we recorded this. Like, why are you outside of the car pointing a gun at her? You're in the fucking car with her. You drove her there.
You're going to shoot her and spray that shit all over the inside of your interior when you have all the outside?
Yeah, really?
Well, it's kind of weird.
But I don't know, but why would you get out of the car anyway is my question.
He locks himself out of the car.
Yeah.
It took him an hour, but he's such a smooth talker. And like we said, when you listen to his YouTube videos and you hear him talk, you kind of get lost in him. You almost kind of like the guy.
Yeah, you almost kind of like the guy.
Almost.
I was screaming his name for like a week after.
Well, she almost kind of believed him because she opened the car.
Yeah.
She let him back
in.
in.
Crazy lady. Crazy lady. Lets her back in the car. Then he choked her. And he raped her, and he killed her. He put her in the trunk and had a few drinks at the bar, and then exited the bar and started admiring his catch like a fisherman, quote unquote.
So after he has the drinks, he's like in the bar parking lot, you're saying? And
yeah, he just opens his trunk, and apparently he's looking at her like, damn.
10-point buck kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
fucking
fucked up.
weirdo.
That's weird.
Weirdo. If you're going to do that, get a pickup truck. That's fucked
That's
up.
not funny. No.
See, you're laughing. It must have been funny to someone.
Anyways.
What the fuck?
So then he ends up returning to his apartment. There he also continues to have sex with the corpse before dismembering it and disposing of the remains in a similar manner as the others. Ku's mom called the police to report the disappearance of her daughter and put up hundreds of flyers for information, but nothing came of it. You know what? He also, in an interview, he was driving around, I think it was the next day or maybe even that day, with her head in the trunk, and he went to one of his psychiatrist appointments. Later that day, they also said he's continuing to show progress.
That's good. I'm sure he's making lots of progress.
Yeah.
At least in his little mind.
Well, things are going to start to get worse for him because on January 7th of 1973, Kemper ends up moving back in with his mother.
Ew, nobody wants to do that.
Yep.
The hell was that? Whatever. Keep going.
I don't know. At this time, he's driving around the Cabrillo College campus where he picks up 18-year-old student Cindy Shaw, as she was known.
Yeah. No, he's still got the Ford.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, he drove around to a sequestered wooden area where he fatally shot her with the .22 pistol this time.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. He likes a small caliber gun, Tim.
Yeah, probably a smaller bullet. I wouldn't say less evidence.
Less of a mess, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because he would, I think.
Again, I'm not a gun guy.
Well, no, that makes sense. Less of a mess, and I believe he did try to pull the bullets out of their skulls.
Listen to us discussing how we would shoot people.
Dude.
That's messed up.
Yeah, well, we're discussing how Kemper shot somebody.
Yeah, I'm
really.
sorry. We're going to cut that all out.
He placed her body into the trunk, and then he drove back to his mother's house.
Yeah.
Where he kept her hidden in the closet overnight. His mother left for work the next morning, and he then had sex with the corpse, and then he tried to attempted to pull the bullet out of her head, and then dismembered her and decapitated her in his mother's bathtub.
God, that must have been such a mess to clean up.
That must have been a real pain in the ass to clean
up. How
up.
much bleach would you have to use?
How high of a risk is that?
Well, hopefully mom doesn't,
This guy's a risk taker. This guy's a risk taker. He opens up the trunk at the bar and looks at it, drives around with heads in the car. This guy really doesn't give a shit.
He must get a giant boner when he does that shit because there's no other reason to do it unless you derive weird, sick pleasures from it.
Well, here's something that gave him a giant boner. He kept that head for several days.
Ew, that shit must have stunk.
Regularly having head sex with it before he buried it in his mother's garden facing towards the window.
Oh,
yeah.
Please. Why did he do that?
Well, he later remarked...
Why did he do that?
He later remarked that she always wanted people to look up at her.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm not making that up, Jake.
Oh, no.
I'm not making that up. That was something he said.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
No. Oh, no. That's fucked.
No, he discarded the rest of her remains by throwing them over a cliff.
Oh, my God. That's messed up.
Over the course of the following few weeks, all but Shaw's head and a right hand were discovered. Of course, we know where the head was.
Yeah, right.
They described it as like trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle.
Now, did they find her head? I'm curious. Did they find her head after he was caught, or he wasn't even caught. He turned himself in.
Yeah,
but
and I think when he gave up a lot of his story.
I wonder
so
what
I
his
think
mom's reaction was.
she was dead, dude.
Oh, that's right. Oh, son of a bitch.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah,
spoiler alert, Jake.
Damn it, you just ruined the excitement. I was so excited to hear that.
Well, geez, Jake, why don't you
I
tell us?
wonder what his mom's reaction was. Doesn't matter. She's dead.
Tell us a little bit about his next two, Rosalind Thorpe and Allison Liu.
He killed them February 5th, 1973, when he was pissed off at his mom. See, when I'm mad at my mom, I just throw my phone across the room.
Well,
if
every
it breaks,
time,
it breaks.
No, you make a good point, because every time he gets into a fight with his mother, he's
goes
looking for
out-
another victim.
Yeah, and he goes out driving around and doing his weird trying to get to know people thing, and his out of body. I'm gonna try to learn how to converse with people, whatever.
Right. And
Yeah.
So this is all a product of him having these problems with his mother. So, anyways,
Right.
what happens?
So he left the house in search of victims after fighting with his mom. There were heightened suspicions of a serial killer preying on hitchhikers in the Santa Cruz area, and it was all because of him. And students were advised to only get into cars with university stickers on them. Kemper
had one.
had one because his mother worked at University of California, Santa Cruz.
Yeah, so he had the parking sticker. I don't know if it was to park or if it was just to gain full access to the campus, but he looked like any other college student.
Either way, he had a college sticker on his car, so people trusted him to get in the car. These two, Rosalind Thorpe and Allison Liu, get in the car, and he fatally shot them both with his .22 and wrapped their bodies in blankets. He brought his victims back to his mom's house, this time beheading them in his car and carrying a headless corpse and, oh my God, I can't even read this.
That's so fucked up.
Into his mother's house to have sex with. He dismembered them, removed bullets, and to prevent identification, he discarded their remains. He got rid of them at Eden Canyon. They were found about a week later, and more was found near Highway 1 in March.
So he scattered him.
Right, exactly. I don't think he scattered any of his other victims. That's an interesting thing that I didn't notice.
Kind of changing some of the way he does things.
Yeah, right. I wonder if that helped kind of, I guess, turn the heat away from him, or if it made it worse.
I don't know.
When you look at it all.
Seems like he does get sloppier as he goes on, but
right. And well, it all comes down to him turning himself in. So I guess there's no real way to measure it.
Now, when questioned in an interview as to why he removes his victims' heads before performing sexual acts on their bodies, he explains the head trip fantasies were a bit like a trophy. So that was kind of like cutting it, like you said, like a deer. So he says, everything is in the head. That's where it's at. The brain, the eyes, the mouth, that's the person. I remember being told as a kid, you cut off the head and the body dies.
The body is nothing after the head is cut off. ...
Yeah.
Well, that's not quite true. There's a lot left in the girl's body without the head, says Ed.
Says Ed
Kemper. What the fuck?
Now, these last victims before he took off,
yeah,
I believe I had read something where he believes he locked himself out of his vehicle with two corpses. Now, this is Ed getting sloppy again, right? Mm-hmm. So he panics, turns, his gun falls out of his pocket. He steps on the gun, slips and falls. Oh. And as he's on the ground, he realizes, I stuck the keys in my back pocket.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder if he felt them when he hit the ground. Did you stick your back keys in your keys in your back pocket when you fell over there earlier?
Yeah, I hit it pretty hard there.
Yeah, right. Well, you wouldn't feel it anyway. You get so many goddamn layers on.
Yeah, it's pretty cold. Yeah, so, anyways, he ends up now amping it up to the person that he's been wanting to kill all along.
On my favorite holiday ever.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
So who are the next two? The last
his
two.
mom and her friend.
Yeah, how does that go down?
April of 1973. She come home from a party. I don't know exactly what day it was. She comes home from a party, his mom, and she woke him up just coming home. She was probably drunk and stumbling and whatever.
Yeah, actually, he says she was drunk.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
She was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
While sitting in bed reading a book, she noticed that Ed had walked into the room, and she goes, she uses some backhanded, stupid fucking thing that I can't stand. I suppose you're going to want to sit up all night and talk now. No, I just wanted to say hi and fucking walk out.
Yeah.
Dumb bitch.
I know. Well, you know what he says at that point. He knows. He says, nope, good night.
He said what I said, but nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. See, but I'm not going to kill my mom over that.
But you could
That's
tell
ridiculous.
that was the boiling point for him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So he waited for her to fall asleep and then returned when she did fall asleep, and he bludgeoned her with a claw hammer and then slit her throat.
Yeah. He subsequently decapitated her and head fucked her too. Yeah. Before using her severed head as a dartboard. No, I say it that way because you have a problem with me saying sexual intercourse. So.
Yeah, oh, stop. Oh, it's like moist.
So that's where you get that one
words.
from. Sorry, guys. Kemper stated that he put her head on a shelf and screamed at it for hours. Yeah. He cut out her tongue and larynx and put them in the garbage disposal. Well, he's having a meltdown here.
No.
The garbage disposal could not break through the tough vocal cords and ejected the tissue back into the sink.
Yeah. He said way later on, that seemed appropriate, and as much as she bitched and screamed, yelled at me over the years.
Yeah. Now, Kemper also had sex with his mother's corpse, and he hid it in the closet, then went out for a drink.
I wonder what he drank that day.
I don't know.
Vodka soda.
Switchback ale.
Maybe.
That's probably what this whole fucking problem's about.
The whole problem
Crappy
is
beer.
probably about crappy beer that was available in Santa Cruz at the time. Get your shit right.
Now, upon returning back to his house,
Yep.
he has the idea of calling his mother's best friend.
Oh, nice.
Now, this is Sarah Sally Hackett. So everybody knew her as Sally Hackett.
Hallett.
And you know why? Because I know a Sarah Hackett. Anyways, so his thought was she's probably going to be the person that's going to check for her, for his mother first.
Right.
So by eliminating her, coupled with the fact that they were known for taking off from work together and just not calling out, no call, no show, and going to do things, it might be a few days before anybody would look for her. So that's why he's thinking that.
Okay, so that's really smart. Well, I guess it's really smart because in my head I was thinking, well, I mean, if you already have one victim, how is it going to get better if you make a second victim? But if they're already known for not calling into work and just disappearing for a week or two at a time, people in the back of their head are going to be like, oh, they're just gone out fucking doing whatever.
Doing their thing.
Right.
So he calls her up. He invites her over to dinner and a movie with him and his mom.
Oh, that's nice.
So she arrives. And
what are they going to watch?
No, can't. Yeah, right. Who knows?
Who knows?
But anyway, so when she arrives, Kemper strangles her to death. Now, with his big Kemper hands, he actually grabs her by the throat, picks her up, and he describes that he can feel her bones cracking and snapping and popping.
Oh, my God.
In his hands. And then also with her, he puts her corpse in the closet. And then he
boarded off the closet.
He boarded off the closet, basically, and I think he left a note for the police.
Yeah. It read, approximately 5:15 a.m. Saturday. No need for her to suffer anymore at the hands of horrible, murderous butcher. It was quick, asleep, the way I wanted to do it. Not sloppy and incomplete, gents. Just a lack of time. I have things to do.
Yeah, busy guy. People to kill.
Yeah, exactly. So he leaves from there and drives to Pueblo, Colorado. He didn't hear about it on the news, and he was rather upset. And he called the police. He confessed to killing his mom and Hallett, but the police didn't take him seriously.
It's Big Ed. It's their friend.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, you're fucking with us. We're not dealing with you. Click.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they did. He had to call
right.
a few times before he got somebody that would take him seriously.
Right. So he called again a couple hours later, and he asked to speak to an officer he knew personally. He confessed again and waited for the police to take him into custody, where he also confessed to the murders of 6 students. When asked why he turned himself in, he says the original purpose was gone. It wasn't serving any physical or real or emotional purpose. It was a pure waste of time. Emotionally, I couldn't handle it. Toward the end, I started feeling the folly of the whole damn thing, and it exhausted me. I was to the point of collapse. I just said the hell with it and called it all off.
So to him, it was almost like mission complete.
Was it complete, or was it mission lost?
Or was it that he was done killing people? I mean,
Right.
because he felt like mom's gone. That was the main reason why I was doing this. Because he says if he would have just killed her first, then all these others would have lived.
Yeah, that's true. I remember hearing that in one of his interviews. You're right.
So they also say that the drive back from Colorado to California, he would not shut up. In fact, even the cops that were in the car with him, they were driven nuts by his bantering and his talking. You know,
These cops need AirPods.
He would do things like get out of his car, get out of the car with the cops, like at a gas station, and he'd stand up and flash his cuffs and all that, and he'd like the attention that he was getting at the time.
Weird.
So yeah,
that's a weird kind of attention to want.
Now back on to California, Kemper was indicted
into the Hall
He was
of Fame.
inducted into the Serial Killer Hall of Fame, but in this
guess the
time he
fuck.
was in court for 8 counts of first-degree murder.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and this was on May 7th of 1973.
I'm going to have to look at the difference between first degree, second degree, and third degree. Because I know there's like different levels of
Yeah.
murder, so I'm curious what the differences are.
You'll have to check that out for
Right.
this.
I wonder if it's just the severity.
He had a public defender.
Yep.
And due to Kemper's explicit and detailed confession, his counsel's only option was for him to plead insanity. I mean, how else do you explain any of that?
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't leave your lawyer much option.
Now, while in custody, Kemper attempted suicide twice. Do you know how he did this?
No.
I know one of the times he got to kind of talking with a reporter that was there, kind of doing things, and he wasn't really being watched so well.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, I can do kind of an interview with you or whatever. She ends up giving him a metal pen.
Oh.
So with that, he kind of fashions it into like a knife and slices his wrist. And he makes a comment
Wow.
after about how the pen is mightier than the sword. He's just kind of...
I can't tell if you're joking or not.
No, I'm
That's
serious.
fucked.
I'm serious.
Wow. All right.
So, but for Kemper, unfortunately for Kemper, I should say, they found him to be legally sane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe it. He did it the first time.
Yeah, they even investigated into his juvenile records and diagnosis that he was once psychotic. So they saw all of that.
Right.
He was even interviewed under truth serum. And at this time,
What is truth serum?
I don't know. He sounds like something you hear in like one of those 007 movies, but it's something I guess that you take it and you can't lie. You tell the truth.
I wonder if that was one of fucking what's his face? We did the episode on him. Todd Skinner's fucking things. Probably not. Obviously
Probably
not
not.
because of the time frame. But
But yeah, some
You
kind
know
of
what
weird
I'm
chemical
saying.
that messes
Yeah.
with your head like that.
yeah, right.
And so under the truth serum, he had admitted to eating some of the flesh of his victims.
Okay.
Yeah, putting it into a flesh casserole.
Okay. I'm good. Thanks. I'm never eating anything
But-
chili resembling
But
again.
nevertheless, they still said that he was sane.
Wow.
And ready, to stand trial.
Good.
Now, Kemper later recanted his admission of cannibalism. But of course, that wasn't under the truth serum. So
Right.
let's see here. So at this time, then Kemper gets found guilty.
Yep.
And he is then in the California medical facility.
Oh.
They
didn't send him to jail this time?
No, I think it's like one of those prison jails.
Oh, okay. Like an actual prison jail.
Yeah.
You mean like a prison hospital?
A prison hospital, rather. Prison
Or-
jail hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
All these
it's-
words.
It's one of those, that's kind of geared towards,
Right.
it's like more of a high security type prison because while he's there, he's on the same block as Herbert Mellon
Whoever that is.
in Charles Manson. You know what? He was a serial killer. This is kind of interesting. He was a serial killer that was acting at the same time
Herbert
as...
Mullen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no, I know who that is.
You've read about him. He was
Yeah, a
acting at the
little
same
bit.
time as Kemper.
Yeah.
So what was he doing with Mullen there? I mean, I don't
He
know.
was fucking with him. Ed was 3 times bigger than Mullen, basically. And Mullen thought he was hot shit.
Well, Kemper's 6'9" and Mullen was 5'7".
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Very small. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So Mullen thought he was hot shit in the prison hospital, whatever jail
Yeah.
thing. And what the hell's his name? Kemper was having none of that at all. So he started calling him out on it and basically treating him like shit. And he trained this guy with, what was it, peanuts or some shit? If he was being annoying,
Yeah, because
Ed would threaten him.
Because he would sing. This guy would sing, and he would annoy everybody there in that jail block.
Right.
Nobody wanted to hear it. They wanted to watch the game, or they wanted to do other things.
Right. And Ed would threaten him.
What he would do is every time that he would do what they wanted to do, he would feed him peanuts. And
Oh.
every time he would do something that they didn't want him to do, he would throw water at him. And the prison guards saw this. Nobody stopped Ed from doing it. And over a period of time, this very difficult Mullen,
Yep.
he started to change. And in fact, the prison guard said that he had become a model inmate also.
Huh.
And over this stay with him in that same area, Kemper got Mullen to talk a little bit because they were similar in a lot of ways.
Huh.
And you'll find that while he's in prison,
Yep.
the FBI comes in and they start to investigate and try to profile serial killers based off of interviewing Kemper and
No
others.
shit.
Yeah, and they start to see things like, excuse me, they start to take note of things that the mutilation of animals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's something that a lot of the serial killers do. Bedwetting.
Yep.
Another thing that a lot of the serial killers do. Parent issues is another thing. Sexual issues. So a lot of these things tie in, and they start to build up these profiles.
Right.
But Edmund also kind of gets a lot of that information just through Mellon, you know, because they start to show similarities, and that does
Right.
get Mellon to start talking and changing as well.
Right. I believe he was in the same cell block as Charles Manson as well. Just
Yes.
a little added fun fact about Ed Kemper.
Yeah, we had mentioned that a little while ago, but it's pretty cool though.
Yeah, right.
And
him killing 8 people isn't cool, but
in the entire time that he's been in prison, he has only had one disciplinary problem, and that was in 2016.
Jesus, so he goes what, like 30 years? No, 73 to 2016.
Yeah.
That's 43 years.
And this was because he wouldn't submit urine for a drug test.
No, what could you? You know what? You can get a lot in prison. Never mind.
Now, though he's been a model inmate while he was there,
Mm-hmm.
he would also he would do other things like work programs. He'd recorded, I think, over 5,000 hours on audiobook for people that, you know, can't read or are visually impaired.
Right.
So he did a lot of work like that. He recently had to retire, I guess you could say, from that because he had some health issues.
Mm-hmm.
But his last several parole hearings, he didn't even want to attend them.
No shit.
Yeah, no, he doesn't even want to bother getting out. He says he's happy in with his jail life.
Huh. Probably safer there for him.
Well, yeah, I'd say he's safer there for himself, and I think society's safer.
Well, I think in his head, he's safer there for himself. I think that's how he's definitely going to look at it.
Oh, I would say so.
You
I
know
don't
what
think
I
he
mean?
wants to do anything again.
No, probably not.
I think he's done with the killing and all that. And
Well, he seems to have some sort of remorse when you watch the 90. Well, okay, when you watch the 93 interview, and these are all on YouTube, so you guys can look these up for yourself too. When you watch him in the 93 interview, he gets very emotional when he starts talking about killing his mom. I think for him that was like a turning point in his head where he just was like, okay, this was a really bad idea. Why did I do this?
do you think that's when he? Do you think that flipped the switch in him? Maybe.
Maybe.
Did it? Did it maybe?
well,
Because he doesn't
after-
show any remorse for anybody else.
Well, after he killed it, I don't think he had. Obviously, he didn't have the emotional connection like he did with his mom. But
Right.
you notice after he killed his mom and her friend, he turned himself in.
Yeah, because he was done.
Yeah, and he said, it's pointless at this point. I'm not getting anything out of it. Whatever. I think after he killed his mom, that was just the end for him.
Now, for a guy that grew up with nobody and they grew up socially awkward, I mean, I think he seemed like he did pretty well learning how to be around people. I mean, look,
Right.
I mean, he states that he gave over 150 hitchhikers rides before
Yeah.
crossing that line and doing something.
Right. It takes a special person, I think, to pick up a hitchhiker too, because you have to let your guard down. You're pulling someone into your car that you don't know.
They say in that time, though, in the 70s, that was a normal thing. People hitchhiked and they didn't think twice about it.
Really?
Yeah.
I would be wary to do that today.
Well, today, oh shit, you barely see hitchhikers. In fact, when you're driving down the road today and you're looking at somebody that's trying to hitch a ride,
Yeah.
they usually look fucking crazy.
Yeah, they do, unfortunately.
You know, it doesn't look like a bunch of hippie kids on the side of the road. It's usually somebody that looks like they're willing to try to steal your car or something.
Well, you can blame that for letting all the mental patients out and putting them on the street.
Well, that was
Sending the homeless to different cities and all these other stupid things that go on here.
well, that actually, you know what? I'm glad you bring that up because that was actually there was a time. This time frame in America was when that started to happen. They started
Yep.
closing down these, places like we'd mentioned Pineland and stuff in past episodes, and crime just started to go rampant in general.
Yep.
There was more. Seemed like there was more active serial killers then than ever before. Maybe the ones now are doing it better, but
Right.
it's just changed.
knows?
Yeah, who knows? But
Who knows, man?
it's getting late.
Yep, we got to do episode 2.
Yeah. So
Or another, episode 2, because we're re-recording.
yeah. So what's our social media?
That's a great question. You have it on your laptop.
Yes, I do somewhere here.
Yeah, mine's across the table. I wish I could reach it.
So our social media, that's Facebook. You can find us Stories from the Shed. Instagram, it's Stories from the Shed Podcast. YouTube, Stories from the Shed Podcast. Twitter, @Stories from Shed. iMessage, are we still doing that one?
I can sign it back up.
And that's sftspodcast@gmail.com.
And that is also our email.
That's right. Thank you for listening, guys. Share and tell a friend.
Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night. Take care.
Adam, hit end.
And